Hello, 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 hello. Well, everyone, I'm coming at you today with quite a head scratcher, a regular idea, if you would. You see, I do a lot of traveling in my time, and something that I've come to notice is that stores tend to be scattered throughout, right? And you get quite surprised by how many of each type of store there is. For instance, right, I've always wondered, how many Walmarts there are, how many, Dollar Generals, Targets, maybe I want to know how many Chick-fil-A's there are. When you look at the numbers, it's quite surprising. So today, we're going to take a look at all the numbers between, how many stores there are for each store and how much they're making. And I kind of want to go over and, talk about the, quite noticeable difference between stores, because you'll find that some stores, even with a lower amount of locations, bring in so much more money than other stores who have a ton more locations and yet somehow don't have enough customers coming in and get them that big dough. And it's crazy because when you walk around, there are some places you see on every corner, in every place, in every mall, in every airport, and you think they're everywhere. But then you look at the numbers and you're like, it's endangered. Let's go over some of these numbers, okay? Firstly, growing up in Battle Creek, right, we had, one Walmart, 2 Myers, we had like 4 McDonald's. It was crazy, right? And you think, that must be the same for everywhere, but it really isn't. So let's go over the numbers, shall we? At number one, the first person we're going to go over is Walmart, all right? Now, annually, they bring in $19.436 billion in yearly profits. And they only got 4,593 stores. No joke. Under 5,000 locations, and yet they're bringing in that much money. And honestly, with this Walmart thing, right, it's crazy to think. Because you think to yourself, you go in every city, there's a Walmart. And in reality, a lot of it is just located in the bigger cities where the higher population densities are, or sometimes they're at the outskirts of those towns. And it's crazy to see them bring in so much cash with under 5,000 locations. Now, the next thing I want to go over is Dollar General. It's another store that we look around and we see everywhere. But the question is, of course, do the numbers match up, right? So here we go, pulling up Dollar General here. They bring in an estimated total of $1.125 billion in yearly profits. And of course, when it comes to their store locations, I'm going to give you guys a second to take a guess in the comments here. Ready? 20,400 locations. What? Now, let's think about this for a moment. You drive through every city ever, and you notice that there's like 2 freaking Dollar Generals per every 4 city blocks. And, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. There's 50 U.S. states. I don't even think there's 20,000 U.S. cities. I could be wrong. I'm not as educated in geography as some people. But I don't even think there's 20,000 cities in the U.S. Isn't that just insane? It's like, it's like comparing the gun population of the U.S., where there's a lot more guns in the U.S. than people. There's a lot more Dollar Generals than needed. Now, not to sound like a fat ass, but let's talk about McDonald's, because you see McDonald's and you see them everywhere you go. Off every offshoot of highway, heck, down the road from almost every big high school, there's at least one. So let's go over the numbers for McDonald's, shall we? McDonald's is sitting at a yearly annual revenue of $8.223 billion. That's with a B, my friends. Let me tell you something. You think millionaires don't need all that money? Billionaires don't need that shit. And they have a total of 13,658 locations. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Growing up, I always thought there were more McDonald's than Dollar Generals, right? Because like I said, back in Battle Creek, we had 3 Dollar Generals, we had 2 Myers, 1 Walmart, we had 2 Arby's, but we had 6 fucking McDonald's. You had the one on B Drive, Columbia, by Dickman, there's one by my old high school, and then there's one not even 5 minutes up the road from there. So it's crazy to see that they're underneath Dollar General by about 7,000 stores, and yet they're bringing in so much fucking more. And this all gets me thinking, what freaking universe are we in? That Dollar General seems to be one of the most widely populated stores in the U.S. Because, you go around and, you see all the McDonald's and stuff. Those are blatant in your face. But you almost never notice the Dollar Generals. So my question is this. Is Dollar General some sort of temporal teleportation type of thing where you go through different realities because, again, you feel like you think about it, you're like, there's other stores that come to your forefront of mind that make you think, oh, there's a shit ton more than there actually is. For example, right, a really good example, Chick-fil-A. Now, I travel a lot, and everywhere I've gone has had at least one Chick-fil-A. But you're going to be quite surprised by the numbers, my friend. Quite freaking surprised. My mind was blown, like Oppenheimer, okay? Here, let me bring it up here. Here we go. Chick-fil-A, right here. So Chick-fil-A brings in a modest $22.7 billion a year, which, again, you hear that number, you hear about this restaurant and the quality and everything, hey, buddy, and you don't think it's that low. You would think it'd be a lot more. Now we're going to look at how many stores they have, which is crazy enough, under 3,000. There's 2,600 stores. 2,600 stores, guys. Tell me something, okay? Would you ever think to yourself, with how common it is to find Chick-fil-A, how loved Chick-fil-A is, and everything Chick-fil-A does, would you not think there are a shit ton more locations? So, with this information, I can't verify every last one. Now, I did use the AI Grok to help me do a little bit of this research, but I also did some Googling myself, And, getting into the rabbit hole has been pretty interesting, to say the least, because you see a lot of stores that you expect to see a lot more of, and, in reality, they don't have as many locations. And then you got stores you think don't make as much cash, but yet here they are walking away with billions of dollars. That being said, I do want to talk about a couple of more here, right? Because there's a couple of these guys that I got listed off here that were fairly interesting. For example, right, CVS Pharmacy, right? One of, if not the biggest over-the-counter medication stores, you know what I'm saying? How many locations do you guys think they have? Now, if I were a guessing betting man, I would say something around 12,000, right? Because you see them in every state. But as it turns out, CVS Pharmacy, which only brings in a modest $4.6 billion, compared to a lot of the numbers on here, brokey, yearly, with, get this, only 9,100 stores. Now tell me something. Does that sound right? Or does it feel like it should be a couple thousand more? Because again, just like McDonald's, just like Dollar General, it feels like every state's got them, and there's at least more than fucking one. It's insane. So I'm still left here wondering and theorizing, what the hell? The past few years has surprised me with the number of locations for things and the just numbers in general when you look at things. You dive into rabbit holes like this. Another store, right? Another one that really, really caught my attention, and I was kind of like, wow, really? Is that Dollar Tree? Let me pull that info up right here. So we're doing Dollar Tree. Now, this info does include Family Dollars. However, they bring in, which is crazy, this is the lowest amount I've seen on the list, but $1.86 billion yearly. That is a huge surprise, considering dollar stores are usually so freaking popular, especially amongst the youth, because you can bring in a cheap amount of money, get a bunch of stuff, you know what I'm saying? But how many stores do you think they got? And yet they're only bringing in 1.86. 15,000 stores. How do you have 15,000 locations, one of the most affordable stores in the U.S., and you only bring in 1.86 billion? Bethesda much? No, but in all seriousness, right? I honestly don't get how they're only bringing in 1.86 billion because they keep jacking up their prices. One week you go in, everything's $1.25. Then you walk in the next week, it's $1.50. Then you go in and they start carrying crap for like $5, $10. And now I think they even got stuff that's up to like $20. Is that even a Dollar Tree anymore? Or is that more of the, what do they call it again? The jack up of things. The recession tree. Inflation, that's what I mean. I don't know why words sometimes just escape the hell out of my lips. But look, man, all I want to say is this much, okay? If you're out and about and you happen to see a Chick-fil-A, be extremely grateful. Because let's be honest, right? Chick-fil-A's, it might be another 500 miles till you see another one. Next time you see a Walmart, be grateful That's a bastion of your community. And again, that's something you might not see for a good couple 100 miles. It may not be as far as, the Chick-fil-A's, but that's still going to be a good 200 miles till you see another one.